welcome back to The Person Everyone Needs. I am your host, Webb Hoggard, and today we are going to talk, we're going to start a conversation today that we're actually going to talk about for a few weeks on the topic of love. When I think of love, I often think of Disney because Disney is probably one of the most famous people who are putting out regular love stories, even though one of the things I want to be very clear about in our conversations is I think mostly the reason we misunderstand love is because we have been over-indoctrinated by people like the Disney Corporation. But as I was thinking about this, I was reminded of a phrase from Cinderella. So this is love. So this is what makes life divine. This other one, more recent, from Frozen, Olaf says, some people are worth melting for. Don't that just make you, oh man, that just makes you feel like, oh buddy. Like that's love. That's what love is someone who is willing to let somebody else have the best part of their life. Someone who's willing to sacrifice themselves for someone else. And that is the true essence of love. That's really what love is. When I hear the word love, a lot of songs pop in my mind. I want to know what love is. I love that song. And or what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. I see every one of you, snatching your head to the left right now. And the Night of the Roxbury's pops in my head. There are many love songs that could pop into your head when we think of this topic. But the other day, my son was telling me, we've been dealing with some conversations on just recognizing whose voice in his life really matters. And so I tried on the regular to remind him how much I love him, how much I adore them, and wish that I could encourage them in all things. And I wish that they didn't care so much about what other people's opinions are for them. But in our conversation, what I said, do you not believe that I love you? And he kind of looked back up at me and was like, yeah, I guess I do, but I do forget it very quick. I do forget really quick. So I wonder what would happen if all of us got convinced of how much God loves us, what it would change in our lives, what it would change in our relationships, what it would change about our thought processes, our mindsets. I wonder if we could be convinced of how much God actually loves us, what it would change for us. Because I personally think that the reason that we're just as scared as people who don't know God is because we don't really believe that He's got our best in mind or that He can come through for us. We love Him. We know that He loves us. We think that He loves us, but we're not really convinced of it. So I want to talk to us about the idea of love. I did another deep dive on trying to find out where the word comes from. We're going to talk about the Greek word eventually, agape, which is like unconditional affection, unrelenting affinity for someone else. To give your affection or attention or to be attracted to someone else. That's what love is. And so, by the way, God says He's attracted to you. And not in like some weird, skeezy American, like hubba kind of feeling. Like he cannot stop moving towards you. He loves you. He cares about you. He doesn't walk away. He doesn't remove Himself. He's not mad at you. He's not hoping that the shame of your life will make you change. He is just absolutely in love with you. All of the harassment, all of the assaults, all of the things that you've done wrong in your life that you think would be the reason why He would move away from you, God moves even closer. He wants to help you. He wants to take care of you. That's what real love is. Love doesn't run away from the mess. Love runs to it. Love cares more about taking care of those with issues than making sure that you have a clean, tidy, easy, perfect little life. It runs to the messes. The word love in the English language comes from the word lufu, which meant desire for. And in the Greek, agape, it means attraction to. I mean, we've heard it unconditional love or like unconditional favor, and that's in there too. The only problem is like there are conditions to love. I mean, I understand what it means is like once you've decided to love someone, there's no condition that changes that. I mean, that's kind of what marriage is supposed to be representing. You know, no matter how bad you're treated, or no matter how bad the road gets. You know, we say in sickness and in health, we don't mean. Let me rephrase that. It's not about how bad you're being treated. Keep yourself safe. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is that to endure some difficulty is a part of the commitment of the vows that come along with marriage. And that difficulty doesn't go away quickly or easily, but real love continues to do all that you can to make the best of every circumstance. So I guess if I could start this whole thing out, I'm not trying to move you toward thinking about how you can love better. That'll be later. But right now, if I could sit across the table from you, if I could look you in your eyes, and if I could hear all the pain that you're going through and all the difficulty and all the things that you're scared of and all the things that you're worried about, just like the rest of the world, all the things that you're no more different than anyone else in, but you feel like you're completely alone in, I would just look at you and I would let you know, God desires you. God has deep affections for you. God is attracted to you like a magnet. He can't stop moving your way. If you will just call out His name, He would meet you in a heartbeat, and He can do more than you could ever imagine or think. That's who Jesus is. That's who God is. He loves you. And if you could realize that, and if you understood how deep that love was, I believe that your confidence would grow. I believe your understanding of how this world is actually on your side and not against you would get better. It would get stronger. That you would not have a hopeless mentality, that you wouldn't look at politics or the football season like I am already and think that the end is coming near. But there would be a sense of hope, because if you could be loved by someone as great as Jesus, isn't that special enough? Is there anything you can't do? And perhaps if He loves you so much and you so understand it and you're so thankful for it, is there a chance that you might reciprocate? That you might want to also show that you put Him before yourself, as He's already shown you by coming to earth, living the life that you're already living and then dying for you. Could you also reciprocate and live His kind of life? Because that's the best kind of life that you could live. If you could let your life reflect a heart of affections for God, that you could show God the most amount of glory by being the most amount of satisfied with Him. I love this phrase by John Piper. I say it all the time. But God is most glorified when we are most satisfied in Him. God is most glorified when we are most satisfied in Him. That's what love does. Love picks us up from the pit that we are in, and somehow in the midst of it transforms us from being lowly and broken to being someone who can lavish love on another, including the person who saves us. From that place, from the health that comes from a God who saves you, then we can decide, let's do what God would do. God is love. God is not Disney kind of love. God is not 80s hair band kind of love. Jesus, it tells us what love really looks like. Love, the greatest action of love, is laying down your life for your friends. John, in his epistle, tells us that God is love. That how can you say that you love God when you don't love your brother who you can see, he says. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. But he that loves not, he does not know God, for God is love. That's how important the person and the placement of love in your life is. So from that health, can you start doing what God would do? For the next few weeks, we're going to start talking about the ideas that are found in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Paul tells us what love is. Paul is writing to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians to tell them about some issues that they're having, trying to create some order in their chaos. They continuously, their hearts, affections are moving in the wrong direction. Their desires, they're attracted to things they ought not be. And so Paul is trying to bring some correction, some order to this church. And right in the middle of a discourse on the power, the use of the powerful gifts of the Holy Spirit, he says, I want to show you a better way. And he takes, there's a beautiful script here in 1 Corinthians 13 where he discusses what love is and the purpose of love and the fact that love is going to last forever. It is a beautiful thing. And love at the core is real maturity. That's what love really is. When we're babies, it's hard to love because we're so needy. Love must come from a place of health and strength. And so when you get to that place and you're able to love others, in fact, Paul will say, and we might discuss this a little bit in the future, but Paul would say, whatever else you do, if you don't do it with love, it's useless. It's meaningless. So what is love? Love first is patient. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. Because here's what I know. People who are loving, that's the people that everyone needs. I think you're the person that everyone needs. And so I hope you'll continue with us in this series as we talk about love on the person that everyone needs.